Hello and welcome to Walker Tea Review. I'm Jason Walker here to just kind of be presenting a reference point for if you are looking for teas, if you're ready to get into tasting teas, ways to do that, experiences that you might have, and the pleasure, the joys that you'll get along the way. We've got a tea today. It's a green tea. It's a fairly common kind of green tea. It's probably one of the teas that was one of the earliest to arrive in the U.S. This is we're going to talk a little bit more about it. This is a gunpowder green tea. So I'm going to get out a scoop here and place in my about 3.5 to 4 ounce Gaiwan here. You know, that's a little more than I want, so I'm just going to kind of shake this in, and I've covered roughly the bottom inch diameter. That looks good, inch to inch and a half diameter, so you can't see the bottom surface of the Gaiwan anymore. My water's been brought to a boil. It's been cooling for just around a minute, so it's still got a good temperature on it. I'm going to pour it kind of slowly pour in here. It lets the leaves kind of swirl underneath the surface of the lid there. Add just a bit more, there we go, because I want just enough to sit and kind of cover a little bit of water is going to sit above the rim of my lid. Looks good. Get that out of the way. Let me just kind of slide this over as well and introduce or say a little bit more about this tea and where it comes from. This is, as I mentioned, a gunpowder green tea. It is from the Mark T. Wendell Tea Company. It is labeled as their organic gunpowder green tea. Although the information on the website, the product page, does not indicate that this is a USDA organic. It simply has the word organic indicated here. You can find, and I should go ahead also and mention before I forget, the website, the product page describes this as a pinhead gunpowder. Pinhead meaning a smaller size. In other descriptions or descriptors on the page, product page tell us that this pinhead is not as tightly wound or rolled or packed as it compared to their regular gunpowder. You can find a 1/4 pound tin like this size available for $7.95, just under $8. So let's go ahead and talk a little bit about this tea and give it a smell. We'll talk about the dry leaf, the wet leaf, and the liquor. First off, you get some of those characteristic kind of smoky type of smells that come off of this tea. A gunpowder does not necessarily have to be the type of grade of leaf that's used for Dragonwell or some of the other well-known grades or kinds of Chinese tea. You're getting different grades of leaf here, and these are generally more, they go through a heavier, stronger roasting process, so there's more of that toasting aspect that kind of overpowers or at least dominates the flavor and aroma complex here. And so what I get here are kind of like a braised Brussels sprout, a little bit maybe of a toasted endive, kind of a little bit of a green smell, but green that's been heat has been applied to. Looking at the leaves, you can get some gunpowder greens that, well, I should say on the scale you can get over from a grayish green. There's a bluish green. It's a light type of color, over towards more of a darker green, so that you get kind of a grayish green over on the other side. This one's moving over more towards that grayish green aspect, so it's got it looks like more mature, fuller leaves for that, as compared to that kind of paler slate bluish green that may have more delicate, more tender, smaller leaves that react differently and give it that paler type of color. Other things I'm noticing here is that I'm getting, just in this little scoop I have here, and as I look down into the tin as well, you do see some stem pieces coming out here and there that are not attached to leaves, that are separate, I would say. And yeah, I would say these are not the most tightly compacted, most curled leaves that I've seen, although they're not loose by any means either. So they're just kind of in the middle there. They've got a lot of, actually there's quite a bit of gloss and shine to some of these, that they've got they're very compact and tight, and some of the shiny ones here, you can't really distinguish. It's been pressed so tightly you can't really distinguish how it would unfurl into a leaf. So that takes care of our dry leaf there. Kind of set that aside, and I'm going to get ready and pour this leaf now, or this tea rather. I'm going to go ahead and get my guile wand, push this. The useful thing about the lid of a guile wand is that you can kind of use it to push the leaves away, skim things away from the surface, and then be able to pour with one hand. I'm already noticing here a fairly dark color, and that's generally, I can attribute that to the length of time that I used for steeping this. If you used a lighter temperature and a shorter, briefer steep time, you would get something paler, something probably more gentle looking and gentle tasting. But we're pulling out a lot of flavor and aroma here. So let's go ahead. I'm going to go ahead and look at these wet leaves now and give them a smell as well. So there's some rich, again, some smoky smells coming out. There's something that was just kind of smoked wood, the inner walls of a smokehouse, wood that has absorbed smoky smells. Logs that have set around a campfire and absorb the smell without actually getting burned. There's a woody, smoky smell that's the dominant. Underneath that, there is something that is a little bit sweet, and this is continuing with kind of a wood type of aspect. I'm thinking of like a maple that the sap or something has started to draw out, and it's been drawn out by the heat of a flame or a fire there. So that sappiness has come out and released a little bit of a sweet aroma combined with that woody aspect. And so those are the dominant smells. There is that sappy sweetness there combined with that wood type of smell. Those are the dominant aspects to that. Before I go too far away from this leaf though, let me just kind of, this wet leaf, let me clear away some of these pieces and then pull out just a few to look at. One, I just happened to put my finger here on a piece of stem, which I said I noticed before. I'm getting partial leaf or leaf sections, parts of leaves there. Here's one, actually some of it's kind of blotchy on the edges, indicating there was some bruising or some oxidation that took place there, some reaction of when the leaf got pressed, squeezed during some kind of form of the process. Another little piece of stem here, so we'll go ahead and set that out. Another looks like about a third of a leaf, almost even like it's got a smooth chop to it. It's got a fairly clean cut to that up top third portion there. So yeah, you're getting leaves here that look like they were larger, more mature leaves that have been processed, chopped. And also you're getting some, it's harder to notice and present this, but there are some kind of almost gritty-like aspect to where this one has been toasted, or there's the heat that's been applied that's created kind of little charred flakes, that gives us that gritty aspect to it. So setting that aside, we can move on. Talking about the history of this leaf, this is the tea that was one of the teas, like I said earlier, one of the early ones brought to the U.S. Also to Morocco, which as a cheaper, more affordable tea. This was the creation of Moroccan mint. Locals were able to combine their mint with this tea, with sugar, to create a unique tea experience, a unique tea culture, you could say. Along with that, a lot of people would say, or some people say, that it's even the lower grade, the lower quality gunpowders that are available that create a better tasting Moroccan mint. That lower grade actually kind of is better suited for the combination of the mint and the sugar. But looking at this tea for a moment, the liquor, still some of the toast, heavy roasted type, not heavy roasted, but a lot of heat notes coming out. Still some of that warm wood coming out. I'm getting a pale, not really a pale, but a rich, dark honey type of color coming off this. But yeah, it's cloudy, and those are the particulates, either from the toasting aspect, that roasting aspect that created a fairly brittle type of heavily charred type of leaf, and that's kind of released here as well. Yeah, so let's go ahead. Looking down through it, it is cloudy as well. So let's go ahead and talk a little bit about this liquor here and give it a taste. Okay, in general, if you are looking for a smooth drinking green tea that does not have a lot of bitterness in it, you generally want to avoid gunpowders. Gunpowders, as we said, they use a different grade. They're not necessarily the most tender, most delicately processed leaf out there. And so what you get is a richer, more intense. There is a bitterness there. There is a astringent bite to it as well, combined with a heat element. That roasting element does kind of mellow it out. It kind of gives this kind of caramel. If you were to take the sweetness, the natural sweetness in a tea leaf and caramelize that, that's close to what you can come to expect here. But still, that's with a fairly intense, bold heat type of note here. There are, as I mentioned before, there are some of those gunpowders that use a more delicate, more tender, smaller, fresher, younger leaf rather, that do get smoother. This one's over more towards a larger, more mature leaf, and so it's got more, like I said, more of a bite to it, more of a toasted type of heat, harsher note to that. So looking at this, comparing this, I would say comparing this gunpowder to other gunpowders, this one I would give an 86. It's got some components. It's not a rich, refined gunpowder by any means. It is one that could be used well in a Moroccan mint type of mix. Could be one that you'd want to add your own flavoring to. If you want to drink it on its own, again, lighter temperatures of water, shorter steep times, so that you get more. You don't draw too much out at once. So come back to Walker Tea Review for tastings, tips on how to prepare, and sharing your experience in tea.